higher frequencies, everybody. I just hopped in the car. You hear the ding going on. There it is. I want to talk to y'all today about how you talking to yourself is definitely manifesting what's going on into your reality. If you have been, on this channel, listen to me, even for a few minutes, that's one of the things that I talk about is our subconscious mind, our thoughts, and our perspective, and mostly from my perspective. But I'm giving you an insight into my perspective in order for you to formulate your own creation of thoughts moving forward in this reality. Because I don't think whatever I think is right. Right? I don't think what I think is wrong. I'm open to all thought processes in this world, because I think what's had us limited as beings in this realm is the fact that somebody's opinion or somebody's thoughts or what they've been through or experiences came to be factual for everybody. And it's not factual for everybody. And I don't think that those people who went through, higher level or higher frequency experiences, or who've had divine connections to all, even meant for it to be set in stone for everybody to follow their way. I think they were just giving you an insight onto what could be from a higher level, a higher frequency experience. And us, when I say us, I'm just talking about people, beings, individuals, here in this realm took it as gospel, quote unquote, for lack of better words, to move exactly in that way. And that's what I like about Taoism, from my perspective, is that Taoism talks about your way, and that we can't give a name to, the all, because once we do that, it's not the all anymore, right? We can't give our way to any way, right? It is just the way. And as we go through life, as we have various experiences, as we interact with the divine, as we, are in nature, interact with people, then we get more and more of an insight into what is, without even having to put this language of words to encompass what all is, right? Because it's once you do that, you've taken away from what all is. I was trying to tell if you watched the video that I did on the Jehovah's Witness that came to the house a few weeks ago, that's what I shared with her. My thing was, I don't even know who gave all the name God, but I can't even call it God, because once I do, it's it's minimizing the power of which it is. Even giving myself my own name, putting a label on me of, as soon as you have a baby, right, the first thing they say, what you gonna name her? And, most of us have had 7 or 9 months to allow the baby to go through its gestation phase and get with family and our village and figure out what we want the name of our child to be, because we know that name is a mantra. We know that that name is what people are going to call that person until this avatar is no more. This is my cosmic coffee cup, y'all. Love it. It says, this coffee is cosmic, and it is. It's microdosed. And I couldn't even get the ticket off the bottom. I don't even care. Once I wash it again, hopefully it'll come off. When I wash it again, it just don't want to come off. Anyway, once we have the baby, they want a name. They want a label for you, for this individual. Now, in some tribes and, in Kemet, in ancient Kemet, or in Africa now is which they call it, or in the motherland, whatever. The baby is born, and it's several days before they even give that child a name. Because you know what, before you can give something a name, you have to feel its energy. You have to feel the soul essence of it. There has to be a reading that's done on that child. Certain things that I picked up when I was in the society. Sorry, I said it's one of those things like, you go through after the baby is born. Not during, but after the child is born. Just like it's the same thing that happens after a loved one transitions. After a loved one transitions, you wait, let's say probably like a week or so, I think we waited, and then you go into reaching out to that loved one that transitioned and get messages, and you get to see where they are. You also do a reading, just like you do an incarnation objective reading. You also can do a reading on the loved one as a transition and see what's going on. You can also do that as well as where they've transversed within the multiverse, and get a reading on that through the Medu-Neter. If you all are familiar with the Medu-Neter and doing the Medu-Neter readings. Which is also a very powerful divination tool that you all can utilize. And what is really powerful is the energy that's in you. What's really powerful is the energy that's in you. Because whatever you call forth, you shall receive. And you don't need any cards. You don't need to throw any bones. You don't need to throw any coins to do that. You can just ask. And because we are in that energy right now. And the name. I'm thinking about creating this as a series, of just talking about that for a week as more channel information comes to me about name. The name, and the energy that's in a name. Because I remember, I think it was last year, I asked my students when I was teaching, I was asking them what their, I always ask my students when I first come into the class, what their name, what's your name, right? And I had a small group of students for my I think this was maybe STEM 2 or 3 that I was teaching. Probably about 5 or 6 students in there, and I asked them their name, and then I asked them what their name meant, and they could not tell me what their name meant. They was like, we don't know. And I was like, you don't know what your name means? I was playing around with them, and they was like, I said, look it up. I was like, you need to know what your name means, because that's what people are calling you all the time. And if everybody's always calling you this name all the time, you got to know the energy that they're putting in you, that they are calling you, as well as you all adults. If you don't know what your name means. My name that my parents gave me, my first name means divine. My first name means divine. I kid you not. It is an old English, from the old English language, it means divine. All right? That is what my name means. So anytime somebody's calling my name, my first name, they are calling the divine. That's why I'm like, I ain't gonna change my name, man. It was given to me for a reason, and our names are given to us for a reason. I still feel like, even though, we don't do ancient practices knowingly, that we still are doing ancient practices. within our soul and our spirit, even though it's not going through the same channels that we used to do when we were over in Kemet, or when we were indigenous and we owned this land and we were going through various rituals. Even though we're not doing the rituals, I believe it's still ingrained in us, in our melanin, to give our children various names. And I think that the names, because my mother named me after my godmother, and she just added an A at the end of it. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, and then I had to go look up and research my name, because I had an elder ask me, I believe this was in 2015 or 2014 or somewhere around there, asked me, what's your name? And I told her, and then she said, what does your name mean? And nobody had ever asked me that before. And I said, I don't know. And they was like, look, you need to look up and see what your name means. And I was like, what? And I think that's when I was in this coven. May have been when I was in this coven. But a part of that, we had to know what our name meant. And rightfully so. I don't care if your name is Laquita. I don't care if your name is John Terrio. I don't care if your name is DeMarcus or DeMario or LaQuanta or whatever. Break your name up and figure out what each La means something, Mark means something, Quanta means something. Figure out and put it all together what your name means, because people are calling your name. And when you're calling something, you are beckoning, you are sending people are sending energy into your name. Every time they call my name, they are sending energy into my name. Even with Blackfoot Witch, you are sending energy into that name when you say it, okay? Even when people call me by my first name, they are calling and putting energy into my first name. So you have to know what you are putting and what you are allowing people to put energy into when it's your name. And even when I put the message out about the last name, right? We're putting energy into that last name, and we are carrying on generation after generations with that last name. So what does your name mean? Every time I date someone, recently, I would say within the last 10 years, because I'm 42 now. So within the last 2 years, since I was probably about, 32, 33, somewhere in there, I would look up their name, because I wanted to know what their name meant. I also would add up the numbers in their birthday to see what numbers come up for their birthday. And you know what? I had never had anybody do that except for my second boyfriend in high school. He did that in high school. He would add, and I never understood it because I was like in 11th grade. But he would add up. And he would give the numbers. He was like, well, this your number. And I never really caught on to it because I was like 15, 16 years old. And he would say, well, your birthday is this, this, and this. And I was like, oh, okay. I took it with a grain of salt. Really didn't think nothing of it. And he would always do that. And he would talk about his birthday numbers. And it wasn't until recently that I was like, this man was doing numerology in the 10th grade. And mind you, y'all, I grew up in the 90s. It wasn't no social media, YouTube or TikTok telling us about how to do numerology, about your Kundalini energy, if you wanted to learn or know something, you had to read. You had to read and seek out this information. So you think about this boy, he's 15 years old talking about the numbers of my birthday and what the numbers in my birthday meant. And he was on a high level anyway. We still really, really great friends, I talk to y'all about, he used to always be in my dreams, and he not anymore. We let that energy go, which I understood. I had to do some work, and I understood where it was coming from. Because ladies, if you all have had an abortion, and I'm gonna talk about everything. We getting ready to go into 2023. I already told y'all that I got some my chronicles that I'm working on, and I'm sharing shit because we gotta heal and we gotta break free of these curses, and I want to call them curses, but it's really hexes. Right? Remember I told you we talked about hexes, hexagram. that energy, hexes that is in our bloodline. And so one of those things with him was the fact that when I was younger, we had an abortion. So we were still linked together. And I didn't notice that we were still linked together until my awakening. And he was always in my dream, always in my dream. And then I thought about it. I was like, we created together. We actually created a world together. When you create a child, you're creating a world. Or even when you have sex with somebody, you're still creating. And we created a world. And so there's still a world with him and I and this child in the family, because it was created. All right. So how do you get rid of something in another realm? Is it possible that you can get rid of something that you created here that has now created another extension or a timeline dimension? We'll talk about that too. But going back to the name, I want to stick to the script. You all break down your name, figure out what your name means, and then start acknowledging that, because that empowers you. And now every time somebody calls your name, it is sending more power to you, because now you know what they're saying and what they're calling. It's not just blindly saying the name, Mariko. No, what does Mariko mean? Because now that if they're calling you and you know what it means, that powers you up even more, right? You really powered up when you know what your name means. So know what your name means. And for those of you out who are in the age where you haven't had children yet, but you're going to have children, you could be teenage, you could be in your 20s or 30s, and you haven't had children yet, take this into account of knowing that energy that you are going to be putting into that child and what you're going to be calling that child. And don't let nobody force you into a name, right? Don't let nobody force you that you got to name your baby right now. We're like, we're going to wait a few days and feel the energy of this child, and then we're going to name him, her. All right? And do that. This is your child. This is your baby. You ain't got to be rushed at the doctor's office. And 9 times out of 10, you need to have a doula and you need to have your baby at home anyway, especially if you're watching this channel. You need to have your baby at home. You need to have a doula. You need to breastfeed. You need to do everything outside the hospital if you can, if you don't have any underlying health issues, y'all. That's what I say. That's what I say, because it all means something. It's all energy that's being put out. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you all today. And as always, I'm going to leave you in peace and high frequencies.